In the last lesson, we talked about the self theory. Now we are going to talk about the self. The self is an individual person as the object of its own reflective consciousness. Since the self is a reference by subject to the same subject, this reference is necessarily subjective. The sense of having a self or selfhood should, however, not be confused with subjectivity itself. So, how do you define the self? Yourself is your sense of who you are, deep down, your identity. When you let someone else know you were, you reveal your true self to them. If the subject of your thoughts is you, your thinking is about yourself. Self comes from Old English, in which it means one's own person. So, how does self relate to personality? Self makes someone an individual. It is the essential being of a person. One is ego and the awareness of one's own inner person. Personality is the combination of behavior, emotion, motivation, and thought patterns that define an individual. Knowing yourself makes you independent of the opinions of others. By knowing who you are and what you stand for in life can help you to give you a strong sense of self-confidence. In order to be yourself, you have to know yourself. So, what are the components of the self? The self has four main components, which are self-knowledge, self-concept, self-esteem, and the social self. The first component is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge, or understanding one's own capabilities, characters, feelings, and motivations, is often referred to as the self-understanding. So, what is self-knowledge? With example, self-knowledge includes knowledge of your own character, values, abilities, and emotions. Examples might include knowing that you are a kind person, that you aren't cut out for your job, that you harbor deep feelings of resentment towards a sibling. What is self-knowledge and why is it important? Self-knowledge is linked to self-awareness, and it is important because we have a better understanding of ourselves. We are able to experience ourselves as unique and separate individuals. We are empowered to make changes and strengthen ourselves in the areas we need to make improvements. To improve your self-knowledge, you can ask yourself a set of questions such as, what am I trying to achieve? What am I doing that is working? What am I doing that is slowing me down? What can I do to change? The second component of the self is self-esteem. Self-esteem is a confidence or satisfaction in one's own work or abilities, also known as the self-respect. The self-esteem encompasses beliefs about oneself as well as emotional states, such as strength, despair, pride, and shame. Self-esteem is important because it heavily influences people's choices and decisions. Self-esteem is the opinion we have of ourselves. When we have a healthy self-esteem, we tend to feel positive about ourselves and about life in general. It makes us better able to deal with life's ups and downs. When our self-esteem is low, we tend to see ourselves and our life in a more negative and critical light. Self-esteem is more linked to our self-confidence. The third component is social self. Social self refers to how we perceive ourselves in relation to others. It involves relationship building, emphasizing, and communicating. You might interact with family members, friends on social media, have a meeting with a boss or a coworker, talk to someone you are interested in dating. All those moments and how we feel about ourselves during them make up our social self. You can improve your social self by effective communication, conflict resolution, active listening, empathy, relationship management, and respecting both yourself and others around you. The fourth component of the self is self-concept. One's self-concept is a collection of beliefs about oneself. Generally, self-concept embodies the answer to who am I. Self-concept is distinguishable from self-awareness, which refers to the extent to which self-knowledge is defined, consistent, and currently applicable to one's attitudes and dispositions. Self-concept is who we think we are, the picture we have of ourselves, plus the picture we think others have of us. Self-concept plays an important part in our overall wellness. It affects the way we look at our body, how we express ourselves and interact with our friends, and it even influences how we make decisions. In the next lesson, we will learn more about the self-concept.